This is my go-to tiger nut rig. When there's a lake that's got a few silvers in, or nuisance fish, or birds picking me up, I generally fish with a wafter or bottom bait, whatever you want to call them. I class them as the same thing because you're both fishing on the bottom with them. But this is my go-to. A big size 2 continental mugger, ultra skin, 25 pounds. I put some shrink tube of about 20 mil on there, I reckon. I like to have a big bit above the hook, so when the fish gets it in its mouth, it struggles to eject it. There's a hook swivel on there, which means you can change bait pretty easily and gives you a lot of movement. If you get picked up by a bird, the rig resets nicely. I've got some yellow rig foam drilled into the tiger, which I use to basically take away the weight of the hook swivel and the hook, and it colour is irrelevant in my opinion, but what I find is that's so the bait will sit above the hook sits flat on the bottom, and you can trim it down nicely to get the nut to sit how you want it to sit. Some people may have it clawed on the bottom like so, or I fish it laying flat with the bait on its side like that. Take a tiger, drill it out probably 80% of the way. Lovely. Take a piece of yellow zig rig foam, put it into the tiger, cut that off flush with the tiger, like so. I use a splicing needle rather than a baiting needle because it stops it cracking because it's not as wide. Slide that on there. Take a length of ultra skin, depending on the length of the rig you want to fish. I like mine long. Cut that off. Strip about 3 inches. Take a size 2 continental mugger. Put the ultra skin through the front of the hook, leaving it about 2 inches from the break. 10 turns down the shank of the hook. Put the braid back through the eye. I always put it back through the eye 3 times. It's just something I've always done. Then put what would be the hair back through the eye as well. Cut that off, level with the bottom of the knot. Take a piece of shrink tube, cut that about 20 mil, slide that onto the braid, then right over, probably a couple of mil just past the bottom of the knot. Take a flexi hook swivel and put onto the hook. Take a hook bead to hold that swivel in place. I always cut just the tip off because I'm using such a big hook. Makes it a little bit easier to get it on, and also I think when you hook one, it gives it a bit more movement, so it can, the fish's mouth against that will move it easier, so the hook goes in deeper. Then take some bait floss, eight inches of bait floss, put the tiger onto the floss and through the foam. And what I do is I use a slither of foam as a hair stop, then you can adjust easily the buoyancy of the tiger by trimming this back through there like so. So it almost leaves you with a set of ears. Tie this onto the swivel. Like so. Trim that off, and I just tuck the swivel into the nut up to the barrel, just so it conceals it a little bit. Trim the rest of that floss off, and there we have the finished article, bar steaming the shrink tube. Then I shall try that in the bucket, and if it's too buoyant, I cut a little bit off of these legs, and if it's just right, then they stay the same.